So this is questions for my family about what happened to my late mum in the hospital in 2018 and the fact that we were set up, and I think that we were set up actually from probably about 2010, early 2010, just after Christmas 2009, going into 2010, when mum changed her will, leaving everything to me. And I think this is what it was about, because some people are very, very greedy, and this is what I believe anyway. I think this is what the setup was. I also think that it actually all started in 2014, September 2014, when mum ran into a glass door. She was being chased around the house by my father, and there was only me and myself, my father and my brother in the house. My dad was chasing mum around the house for some reason. I can't remember what the reason was. He chased mum round, and she'd gone through this doorway twice already, and on the third time I'd gone to the loo, and when I came back, they were going past me and they went the opposite way, and mum ran into this big glass door between the sunroom and the living room. Now, I'd gone to the loo and I'd just come back. My brother was there and my father was chasing my mum, so I don't know who had closed the door, but I was in the loo, and when I came back, like I say, mum ran into the door. She hit the door so hard that she bounced off it about 4 foot, and she had all bruising down her face and a black eye. It was very weird when she did that, because there used to be a 2-seater sofa in the corner, and in the corner of the room, and that had been removed. And the other thing that was weird was when mum ran into the door, they got a sticker out of a drawer and put it on the window. They didn't go out and buy the sticker. They already had the sticker. It was just to me, it was just a bit strange. And it wasn't until then that mum started losing her memory. This was end of September 2014. And she just started losing her memory. There wasn't really anything else wrong with her. By 2015, I went to Malaysia and Bali in 2015. I was there for Christmas. And 2014 Christmas was the last Christmas that myself and my mum, dad and brother and sister-in-law and the boys, their sons, went for Christmas. 2014 Christmas. 2015 Christmas, it was myself and my mum and my dad and dad's friend Mary, and they had Christmas with us from then on, 2015 onwards. In early 2015, so I didn't leave until after I'd signed lasting power of attorney to go to Bali in Malaysia. And I was away like a month, and I came back at about 18th of March or something like that, 2015. But before I left, I was asked to sign lasting power of attorney for my mum, because they said that mum's memory was getting so bad it would help with her financial things. And I signed it thinking that there was, why would anyone lie about these things? Anyway, I signed that. 2018, mum went into hospital. 21st of May 2018, day before my birthday, mum went into hospital. She was only there for 3-4 days and she died. She went in 21st. On the day that my dad rang me, he said that mum had had a fall. Could I go and help? I'd been working. I've got a field, and I'd been working early, so I said yes. And I went up to the house, and I was there about 9:20. And when I got there, mum was sitting at the telephone table. Dad was sitting at the bottom of the stairs. I went and saw my mum, and I said, I've had a bit of a tumble. She said, yeah, I've banged my shin and my ankle. My dad said she banged her head as well, and that he was concerned about her, so he wanted her to go to the hospital to have her checked out. Mum got up, she went we all agreed. She got up, she went out the front door, down the steps, down the path to the car. She got in the car herself, unaided for all of this, and I helped her put her left foot into the car, and she rubbed her right ankle. She told me she'd hurt her ankle and her shin, her right ankle. She was driven to the hospital, and I left and went home to get changed because I've been working. When I got home, I looked out the window and my dad was reversing into the yard. He got out, went in the shop, and I went and had a shower. Sally, my sister-in-law, she came out and spoke to Miss Mum through the passenger side window. I went and had a shower. When I came out, looked out the window again, and they were just driving off. So I left it 10 minutes and I drove over to the hospital. And when I got to the hospital, I went to the main reception and asked where my mum and dad were. And they said in Robin Ling ward. So I went to Robin Ling ward. Mum was in a wheelchair, in a gown, and dad was in a chair. He disappeared off as soon as I got there. And when he returned, he pulled the curtain right around the bed and he said that we'd have to help Mum into bed because it was bank holiday weekend. And so they were short-staffed. And I remember saying, it's not bank holiday weekend, it's Devon County Show weekend. It used to be on at West Point between the 19th and the 20th. It was around my birthday, 19th and 23rd. My birthday is 22nd. And when I'd driven past, all the signs were still up for it, and all the diversion signs were on the roundabout at Clifton Mary. Anyway, he said that it was the bank holiday weekend and we'd have to help Mum into bed. He pulled the curtain round. Mum stood up out of the wheelchair and sat on the edge of the bed, and me and Dad swung Mum's legs round into the bed. Mum said to me, "Cool, I hope it don't turn out like this lot in here." And I agreed, because they all looked awful and ill and frail and horrible, and nobody was speaking, nobody was talking. They were my mum's last words to myself. My dad said I'd have to go and let Mum settle because she was going to have an operation tomorrow, which was my birthday. I gave my mum a hug and a kiss and said, "I'll see you tomorrow." And I left. And tomorrow came, and I rang my dad in the morning, and he said, "You can't go in because you've got to let your mum recover from the operation." So I went in the afternoon. This is Tuesday, 22nd. It was my birthday. I was so upset when I went in because my mum had gone from telling me she'd hurt her ankle and her shin and walking to the car and being driven to the hospital to looking a right mess. Like, she couldn't talk, she couldn't do anything for herself. She couldn't speak. She just looked scared out of her mind. And oh God, I felt so ill. She looked so awful. I said to my mum, to my dad, "What the hell did they do to my mum?" He said, "She fell very hard, she banged her head, and this is what happens to people with dementia." I just couldn't believe how ill she looked there was nothing wrong with her day before. He said, "Pick up her hands and rub her hands and say they're there." I had to pick up both my mum's hands. She couldn't do anything for herself. She couldn't speak and she couldn't do anything for herself. It was just horrendous to see her like this. There was a girl, a nurse sitting opposite us all of the time that we were there, except for not on the 21st, but on the 22nd, 3rd and 4th, well, 23rd, 22nd and 3rd, there was a nurse sat opposite writing stuff down. And I said to my dad, "What's she doing? What's she writing down?" And he said he didn't know, but he looked really, really worried. My dad was acting very odd the whole time that we were in the hospital. He acted really weird. He didn't know what she was doing, but he looked really worried about it. He said again, "You'll have to go and let your mum recover from the operation." She just looked so messed up. She didn't have any tubes going in or out, and she didn't have any, she didn't have a cannula, she didn't have any, she didn't have a colostomy bag. She was just in a gown, all white, and looked like a ghost. My dad said that she'd had an operation, and I didn't know what the operation was until 2020, when I found all the documents, when I got all the documents. So the 23rd came, and I rang in the morning, and again I wasn't allowed to go and see her. It was like they were trying to keep me from seeing my mum. In the afternoon I was allowed to go in and see my mum, and again she looked absolutely awful. She looked worse. Just so scared. I felt scared for her. It was so horrible to see her. like that. And again, my dad was just hurrying me all the time. You can only stay so long. She's got to recover. So again, I left and I was asked to leave, and I could see her tomorrow. So 24th came. I rang my dad in the morning, and my dad said my mum was still recovering and you can't go in until the afternoon. He said, I'll ring you. He rang me at 3:20 on the 24th and said, you can go in and say your goodbyes to your mum, which was a weird thing to say. I left and drove to the hospital, and I left at the time that he rang. I drove to the hospital, and when I got there, the whole ward was empty, and there were 3 nurses there. They said, you've missed her, and they showed me to a side room. I went in, and my mum was dead, and her hands were clawed like this, and she looked really angry, really pissed off. Excuse me. And she looked really angry. Her eyes were open, but she'd gone. You know what I mean? She wasn't there. She wasn't with us anymore. I'm sorry, it just upsets me so much. I gave my mum a hug again, and she was stiff as a board and cold. It was really horrible. I sat in there with her, and I talked to my dead mum for 25, 30 minutes, perhaps a bit longer. I was just bawling my eyes out. It was horrible. When I left the room where my mum was and came out, this friend of mine who worked in the hospital, she stopped me and tried to talk to me. And I was so upset, I just made my excuses and I left. And later on that same day, she wrote to me on Facebook Messenger to say how sorry she was to see me so upset in the hospital earlier. And this is the message. It was 6:47 p.m. on the 24th of the 5th, 2018. I was up at the field by the time she sent me this. And if I wanted to go in and see her, she was in surgery and ortho tomorrow. She was the site manager. She was very kind to send that to me because I was just in a right state, couldn't really talk when I saw her in the hospital. So, I didn't go back to the hospital because my mum had died on the 24th. I've put all the evidence of my mum dying on the 24th in the parts 2 to 7, and it's all of the stuff. Now, in 2020, January 2020, I was looking after my dad's house whilst he was away on holiday in Crete. And I found this document. This document's the coroner's witness statement. It's written and signed by my dad, and it's got ever such weird things on, and it's got the wrong dates on. It says Mum went in on the 14th, had an operation on the 15th, and died on the 28th. But Mum went in on the 21st, had an operation, I was told, on the 22nd, my birthday, and died on the 24th, or I saw her dead on the 24th. Now, this coroner's witness statement, written by my father and signed by my father, when I found it, he was away on holiday, so I took it to see my brother. And when I went and saw my brother, the first thing he said to me was, I didn't do anything wrong, all I did was write the records. I did nothing wrong, all I did was write the records. It was Dad. If that's not an admission, I don't know what is. In this record, it says that Mum couldn't eat or drink or anything like that, and that he was putting a sponge to her mouth and all this sort of thing. In the hospital records, there's all these records that say Mum had, she was having tea and water and all these things. None of the records make sense. There's an extra 10 days of records from the 14th, 15th, 16th, 17th, 18th, 19th, 20th. And all of them, or a lot of them, have got altered dates. A lot of them are the 14th and the 15th. The x-rays that are on the 14th and the 15th, all of them, they're on 2 different days, have Mum's date of birth correct, but her age wrong. 83 for 2018, Mum was 85. The altered dates are on, a lot of them are on the 14th and 15th. There's one that's been written 1405 is written over the top of 22. I was told Mum had the operation on the 22nd. That paperwork is for a pain block, There's a one and only medical chart in the whole of the records, and on it, it's only got mild drugs. In the GP records from a month beforehand, it's got that same medical record, and it's only got mild drugs, the same medical drug, the same drugs chart with the same drugs on it, and they're mild drugs. Within the hospital records themselves, they say that she had a pain block, that she had end of life care, that she had dalteparin. The dalteparin was given to her on the 23rd of May, and she died on the 23rd of May, because I've got this letter from the GP, sent to the GP practice from Lindsay Ainsworth. This is Lindsay Ainsworth here. And it says that Mum died on the 23rd, the night of the 23rd. So this is the letter, and it's sent. It's Devon and Cornwall Constabulary at the top, face smile message, and it says it's to my mum's doctor, and it says there that Mum died on the 23rd of May 2018, so the night before I saw her dead, and it's signed by Lindsay Ainsworth. Now Lindsay Ainsworth is the coroner's assistant, but she's also something to do with Devon and Cornwall Constabulary. I've blown it up a bit so you can see a bit clearer. Look, there we go, 23rd of the 5th 2018. Now, Lindsay Ainsworth, when I was up at my dad's in January 2020, and I found this coroner's witness statement, I also found a letter, and the letter is here. And this letter says, if you want to amend the coroner's witness statement, it's written to my father, to Alan, and it's sent on the 31st of May 2018. If you want to amend the coroner's witness statement, I've never heard of anyone having to amend a record, so it must have been written before, and he's amending it. It says cross out the bit you want to cross out, put write out the bit that you want to put in, put an asterisk next to it or initial it, and put those bits in. Now this is written by Lindsay Ainsworth of the Coroner's Office, who is something to do with Devon and Cornwall Constabulary. It's actually got Devon and Cornwall Constabulary on this letter as well. So she's directing my father to write this coroner's witness statement, and she says in it, sign it, what does it say? Sign it where I've put the X's, and date it where I've put the X's. And my father amended this and signed it where she put the X's and dated it where she put the X's. So he did it to her direction. Now, Lindsay Ainsworth of the Coroner's Office, she also identified my mum. So she got my dad to change that to her description, to her instruction, excuse me. But she also, and she sent that letter to say that Mum had died on the 23rd, night of the 23rd. So sent the letter saying Mum had died on the 23rd. She sent the letter on the 28th, and they all say that Mum died on the 28th. But she didn't. She died on the 23rd, as described by Lindsay Ainsworth, who signed this letter. I'm just pointing these things out. Now, Lindsay Ainsworth also identified my mum on the 24th of May 2018. She identified my mum's dead body on the 24th of May 2018, along with Dr. Al Makhtar. Now, Dr. Al Makhtar, who's also, his name's on there, although it looks like Lindsay wrote the whole of this mortuary witness statement, also got Devon and Cornwall Constabulary on it. Now, Dr. Al Makhtar, he's also signed it, or it's his signature on there, and he's also on this TEP escalation form here, and that's got the date 24th on, and it says about resuscitation, and that my father said that it wasn't in my mum's best interest to resuscitate her, which is just disgusting, because it would have been, because she'd gone into hospital complaining of hurting her ankle, and then she died in 3 days, from what Lindsay Ainsworth said, and I saw her on the day that she identified her in the mortuary, along with Dr. Al Makhtar. Now, that was in 2018, all of that. In 2020, January 2020, when I found that document, I took it to see my brother, and my brother said, I didn't do anything wrong, all I did was write the records, and he told me twice. In the records, I ordered the records. They wouldn't release them from the hospital straight away, and it took them 4 months to release the hospital records. And when they came through, the first thing I noticed was the handwriting in there was my brother Michael, my sister-in-law Sally, and my father's handwriting. Now, Lindsay Ainsworth of the coroner's assistant in Devon and Cornwall Constabulary, she put the coroner's inquest through incorrectly. She told us that Mum had died on the 23rd, identified her on the 24th, and yet on the coroner's inquest, she put through that Mum died on the 28th. She's put all these dates through wrong. The records are written by my family, Mike, Sally, and my dad. On the 24th of June 2021, these three ladies turned up in a car apps for NHS for an anniversary party with my brother Michael, my sister-in-law Sally. I don't know whether my dad was there or not, but it's only Sally in the picture, but I knew that my brother Michael was in the shop. Now, the three ladies that turned up in that car apps for NHS, I took photographs of them, and in 2021 Mike and Sally took me to court, and Sally wrote in the court case, she wrote a piece which I've read out on part 8, and she said that I took a video of her. I didn't. I took pictures out of the window, and they couldn't understand why I was taking pictures of them or videoing them out the window. And she said that they all thought that it was strange that I would think that there was a conspiracy between Mike, Sally, and the NHS. And she said that lady there, that her initials are apps for NHS or are NHS. Now, that lady there, her name's Julie Dent. That lady there, her name's Susan Hailstone. Susan Hailstone wrote the GP records which validate the 2018 records, and she wrote them, Susan Hailstone, there we go, 24th of June 2020, and she turned up for, there we go, Susan Hailstone, and she wrote the records on the 24th of June 2020, and then she turned up at the shop and had an anniversary party with Mike and Sally, who told me that they'd written the records, on the 24th of June 2021. There you go. This is the date, and it's on every single record. It's even on that letter, bear with me, it's even on the letter to the GP surgery from Lindsay Ainsworth saying that Mum died on the 23rd. It's on every single page. Now, the GP records that have been typed on the 24th of June 2020, they validate the hospital records from 2018. And those three ladies that are in that picture, who are Susan Hailstone, who wrote the records on the 24th of June, a year to the day, Julie Dent, head chair of the Royal Devon and Exeter Hospital, and she was a chief executive as well. And the other lady that's hugging my sister-in-law, she's called Claire, and Claire's got a yacht that she moors at Brixham Marina, and my brother and sister-in-law, they have a yacht that they moor at Brixham Marina. And as they were leaving, I could hear them talking as she was hugging her. She didn't hug anyone else in that party of people. And she said, I could hear them talking, and she said that they'd see each other on their yachts at the weekend. I've blown up Susan Hailstone, there you go. And I've blown up these ones for you. Okay, so there's Claire hugging Sally. This is Susan Hailstone, which is that lady there. She's got a little celebratory thing. I could hear them saying that they have an anniversary party. That was Julie Dent. There's Julie Dent again. And Julie Dent is the head chair of the Royal Devon and Exeter Hospital. Or she was. All of these people, or a lot of them, have retired. I think Susan Hailstone still works for the GP practice. I'm sure a lot of people are not going to like me very much at all, but I don't care, because this is to do with my mum and the fact that I believe that she went into hospital on the 21st of May 2018 and died in 3 or 4 days, and I believe that it was a setup. Now, when they put the records through, the coroner has changed the date to the 28th, which was actually the date that the letter was sent to the GP practice. Now, the coroner, he's a coroner. He's supposed to do his job. coroners look into suspicious circumstances of why someone has died. There's 21 plus altered dates in the hospital records. There's 6 x-rays on 2 different days that have got the date of birth right and the age wrong. There's so much, and all the evidence that I've put in is the evidence that he was supposed to look at, and he came to the conclusion that my mum died on a totally different day, that she died on the 28th of May 2018, when his assistant said that she died on the 24th of May 2018. In 2020, when I found out about this, or in 2021, I put a video on. I was in Micheal, and it's called Probably Not for Little Kids, and it's on Ian's Field of Greens 2021, and I put it on there, and I said, you, the coroner, the head coroner, put the date that my mum died through incorrectly, because he did. And he went against his assistant, who's something to do with the police. He went against her decision that mum had died on the 23rd, and he went against her decision that she'd identified mum on the 24th. Now, all of this is just absolutely crazy, that you couldn't write this, you couldn't make this up, but the hospital records say in them themselves that mum was given drugs by a junior doctor and directed by my father on the 23rd, a day that she was there. Now, surely that is hospital medical negligence. All of this is hospital medical negligence. I've never been allowed to report it to the police, because the police, I did write to, I've sent whole files, all of this stuff to the police from when I found out in 2020. I first went to a police station in July 2020 and reported it in Honiton. And then I've been to Exeter. I've been to a lot of police stations in the area, and they won't let me report it. Probably 50 times. I actually reported it to a Julian Lewis, who is the Cybercrime and Serious Crime Unit. I've got his number if anyone, if the police want to look it up, or I'm sure they can just look it up themselves. And I wrote to him and said that I was being hacked. That's also in here, about being hacked, and how it's only May, June, whole of May and early June, that everything in my Facebook account, all my emails, everything has been altered, and my phone and everything, to June the 11th, which is the date that my mum's name was taken off the GP register. So all of this stuff is in there, and it's all to cover up the dates that mum was and wasn't in the hospital. And these 3 ladies that had an anniversary party with my brother and sister-in-law a year to the day from when the GP records were written, and they turn up in an APSA and HS car, I was extremely suspicious. That's why I did the video. At the time, I didn't, or not the video, the pictures. The reason that I put them onto social media was that I didn't know who these 3 ladies were. And I thought, if I put it on social media, then someone would tell me. And you know what? They did. I didn't know until last year that this was Susan Hailstone, and it was a friend that went to school with her 2 sisters, as her 2 daughters, sorry, she's got 2 daughters, in a little town that's nearby to where we live. And she went to school with her daughters, and she said, that's Susan Hailstone. And then a whole load of other people who also went to school with her daughters, they also told me that as well. I was told that this is Julie DENT by doctors and nurses. Quite a few of them are retired from the RD&E hospital, and she used to work there. I think she's retired now. And people in the marina, at Brixton Marina, they rang me and told me who this lady was. Fortunately, I've got some friends who do different things to do with yachts and boats, and they said, this is who this person is, and she's called Claire. That's what we're going to go with. I've blown them all up. There you go. There's Claire hugging my sister-in-law, and there's the 2 other ladies, and there's Julie DENT getting in a car, and there's that other lady hugging her, and there's Susan Hailstone, who wrote the records a year to the day from when the GP records were typed, and then had an anniversary party with Sally. Sally and Mike wrote the records. There was a conspiracy, and it was covered up by the hospital, the GP practice, and all of the above. And the hospital records and the GP records validate the 2018 records. Within the hospital records, when I ordered them through and they came through June onwards of 2020, in the hospital records, the records that validate the 2018 records, both the GP ones and the hospital ones that are written by my family, they were last typed on the 8th of July 2020 in the hospital, and they validate the 2018 records. The other ones are the GP practice ones that were typed on the 24th of June 2020 by Susan Hailstone, and they validate the 2018 hospital records. And this was a conspiracy between the NHS, or the Royal Devon and Exeter Hospital, and my brother and sister-in-law. It's their handwriting in the records. It's Micheal, this is your mum as well. It's my sister-in-law Sally. It's your mum. She was your mum for all those years, and she was so good to you and so good to my brother, and yet you put through a whole load of records, an extra 10 days, to make it look like mum was there for 14 days. And it was your records, as I said in 2022, yeah, that it was your records that killed my mum. She was your mum too. It's disgusting, I think. And this is greed, and it was done for money. Now, I think that we were set up from way back in early 2010 when mum changed her will, and that was what it was for, and it was for her and for the inheritance that she was leaving to me, because everything was changed from when we did lasting power of attorney in February 2015. I thought we were doing it to help mum, and yet all of mum's assets and all of mum's money, so all her money in her bank accounts went to my dad. It was transferred into his account. I've got a copy of all of this. All of mum's shares in the shop, you transferred them to yourselves, to Mike and Sally. You transferred them to yourselves, and I've got a copy of that as well. All of the shares in the shop, the value of the property, they went to you as well. And then you did that deed of variation in 2019, and you got me to sign it. But the deed that I got back isn't the deed that I signed. The deed I signed, I did a deal with Dad for 50 grand for mum's shares, and it was mine and Dad's signature on there. The person that co-signed it was Jazz, who works in the shop, and she wasn't there, but you were there, Sally, and you were so rude to me. You just said, "Get on and sign it, Ian. Just get on with it." And I did sign it, but I didn't realise at the time that you were screwing us over and what you'd done to my poor mum. This is all a setup from way back then. You set us up just because you didn't like what my mum left to me. I didn't get anything, but I spent all of my